Good morning. Welcome to the Umpqua Unitarian Universalist Congregation. I am Glennis Peterson, your service leader for today. Our speaker this week is Donna Smith. She will be available after this service for an after-sermon discussion on Zoom at 11 in the morning. 11:15 is the sign-on. The conversation starts at 11:30. Please watch your email for an invitation with links to the meeting. If you have not yet used Zoom, Google Zoom free video conferencing and download the free app. You can do this on your phone, tablet, or computer. Follow the prompts, and then you can join us. Otherwise, these discussions are recorded so you can view them anytime on YouTube, and they are generally posted on Saturday night. I want to thank Michael Wheeler and Lucy Swangam for their work in producing these videos of our services each week. It's important to make every effort to stay connected with one another during this physical separation. Please call and check in with members of our congregation. If you know how to find us on YouTube, help others who might find it difficult to do so that many of us as possible can participate in our services. And of course, since you're using YouTube to view this service, please click on the red subscribe bar or link. This will make it much easier to find us at any time. As I light our chalice this morning, please listen to the following words by Nancy Ree McKee. Our community knows no boundaries. We are not confined by the physical limits of walls, or for that matter, of what often binds us, restricts us, holds us back. We are freer than we know. When we release ourselves and each other from expectations of what is needed for true community, we are here, together in space. I see you. I hear you. I love you. And I light this chalice, a beacon of this community holding us all together, here and now. Our opening words this morning are by Lynn McTaggart in The Bond. From a scientific point of view, the true power of leaving our small space of individuality and coming together as a group to achieve a superordinate goal stems from a collective resonant effect. Just as brainwave entrainment can occur between two individuals, so it also gets established between group members working together. The electrical activity of each individual in the group begins to resonate on a common wavelength, a choir perfectly in tune. Like a group of electrons that begins to vibrate as one giant electron, the group creates a resonance that magnifies the individual effect. I would like to introduce our speaker today, Donna Smith. As a Unity Worldwide Ministry spiritual leader, her ministerial training was focused on pastoral care. Her heart is most joyful when she can help others find peace and joy in their lives. She is also a Unity chaplain, a Taizé prayer leader and trainer, a Reiki master and practitioner, a nonviolent communication teacher, a student and teacher of A Course in Miracles, and a student and teacher of the Way of Mastery. She offers compassionate services and teaches A Course in Miracles at UUUC and is active in their Cares and Concerns ministry. Before pursuing ministry, she was a certified public accountant, operating her own business for many years. Since retiring, she does the accounting for a Bestsello Winery in Roseburg on a part-time basis.
Good morning, everyone. Wherever you are, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I shared with you last time that we were together how to be resilient in times of extremes, and that one of the most important parts of being resilient was community. I want to delve deeper into the importance of community, not only for our resilience, but for our survival. I want to share this story with you that really sums up so simply and so sweetly what community is. If you didn't see it in the UMQuest, here it is. A researcher in a small African village wanted to engage the children and become friends with them. So he put some candy in a basket and placed it by a tree. He told the children to stand in a line, and when he said go, they were to race down the field to the tree where the basket was, and the first one there would win all of the candy inside the basket. So they raced down toward the tree, and one of the boys made it to the basket first. He sat down by the tree, waited for the others to get there, and then shared the candy with all the other children. The researcher was puzzled and asked the boy why he didn't keep it all for himself. After all, he had won the race. The little boy said that if he kept it for himself, the others would be sad. How could he eat any of it if the others were sad? This is a story that represents a very high consciousness. Cooperation instead of competition. This is an example of exactly what it will take to bring caring and peace back into the all corners and places in the world. It is simple. Care for each other. Caring for each other is the foundation of community. As Millard Fuller said, and I know I shared this last time, but I love it. For a community to be whole and healthy, it must be based on people's love and concern for each other. Now, we talked last time about how a strong and healthy community increases our resilience to adapt and prosper in extreme times. However, community is important in all times and at all times. There has been a lot of research about the importance of community to our health, our longevity, our joy, our peace, our strength, and our sense of belonging. Lynn McTaggart shared in one of her online webinars that I watched recently. She said that studies of heart attack victims have found that at least a half don't have high cholesterol or any of those risk factors. They're simply lonely. And loneliness is the one thing that human beings cannot bear. Psychologists have studied suicides for many years, and they find that most people commit suicide because of something that psychologists call excessive individuation. In other words, they feel left out, and being left out is the one thing they cannot bear. This is why the practices of shunning and bullying can lead to depression and even suicide. Lynn McTaggart wrote in her book, The Bond, that there is an innate pull to wholeness, which means we are born to belong, we are born to agree, we are born to give, and believe it or not, we are born to take turns. And there's a lot of scientific experiments that are backing up those 4 things. I encourage you to read her book. It's very interesting. Science has shown in its experiments that rather than a will to power, the essential impulse of all life is a will to connect. Deep connection rather than competition is the quality most essential to human nature. We were never meant to have a life of isolation and self-serving survival. Human beings need partnership just to survive. We experience the greatest stress and the most serious illnesses when we are isolated from others and from a sense of connection. Today in our world, there are a lot of people who are isolating themselves in order to feel safer. The political polarization is dividing people even more. Some family members against each other even. So when you look out there right now, you really don't see a lot of the things that are promoting community and a sense of connection. That is why we need to keep our sense of connection foremost in our minds for our health, because we need each other. This is a picture. I hope you can see it. I'll just hold it up for a moment. 2 little babies, newborns. One has her little arm over her sister. They're 2 little girls. This is a picture of 2 newly born infants that I use in my Taizé prayer training. It was in life in 1996. And it shows one of the baby girls with her arm over her twin sister. Born 12 weeks prematurely. They were whisked into their separate incubators prematurely. They were whisked into their separate incubators. Brielle Jackson was not expected to live. She had breathing and heart problems and was not gaining weight. A hospital nurse went against the hospital rules and placed the babies in one incubator. When they were placed together, the healthier of the 2, Kiri, threw an arm over her sister Brielle in an enduring hug and embrace. The smaller baby's heart rate stabilized and her temperature rose to normal. She survived because of her sister's loving embrace. Research shows that connection protects us against stroke, depression, even the common cold. One study concluded that relationships of any sort, good and bad, improve our odds of survival by 50%. This social bond protects us even in hard times. One sampling of Americans in the lowest income bracket showed virtually no stress about their financial circumstances so long as they had 2 means of support: a strong spiritual connection and, even more important, a strong spiritual community. During my childhood, our family was considered economically poor, but I only found that out as an adult. Because during my childhood, I never felt deprived, depressed, or poor, or even unhappy. And I know that that was because my parents, my family, we had a very strong, loving bond for each other. There are 4 girls in our family, and every one of us knew that we were loved by our parents. And we all worked together to make things work for our family needs. So that connection of love for each other translated into a very rich experience and not a poor experience for me. So it is not so much about material things. Some of the studies in McTaggart's book showed that some of the richest areas of America had the greatest risk of suicide. A study by Lynn Syme concluded that the quality of the connection to one's immediate geographical cluster is one of the most potent predictors of health and illness. Even in the face of devastating adversity, a cohesive group bond can be protective against virtually any risk factor: migration, dislocation, poverty, poor diet, and even alcoholism. Studies of indigenous cultures also demonstrate that a strong social tie acts as a buffer against other opposed high risk factors, such as foreign diet or even foreign religious practice. For instance, a group of researchers studying the native population of the Solomon Islands found that they had no coronary heart disease or high blood pressure even after they had adopted a Western diet and religious practices. This puzzled the researchers until they discovered one factor that had remained constant: the social ties and roles with their families. The blue zones have been very, very helpful for our community. And in the blue zones, the factors of living long and healthy lives includes belonging. It's number 7 on their list. The Blue Zones communities have strong ties with their families and social groups, and they participate in a spiritual community. So I hope you see that community is one of the best medicines that we can have. I have another story for you, and I think most of you have heard this one before. The story of stone soup. Once upon a time, there was a great famine. The people in one small village didn't have enough to eat, and definitely not enough to store away for the winter. People were afraid their families would go hungry, so they hid the small amounts of food they did have. They even hid their food from their friends and neighbors. One day, a wandering soldier came into the village. He asked the different people he met about finding a place to eat and sleep for the night. "There's not a bit to eat in the whole county," they told him. "You better keep moving on." "Oh, I have everything I need," he said. "In fact, I would like to make some stone soup to share with all of you." He pulled a big black cooking pot from his wagon, filled it with water, and built a fire under it. Then he reached slowly into his knapsack, and while several villagers watched, he pulled a plain gray stone from a cloth bag and dropped it into the water. By now, hearing about the magic stone, most of the villagers were surrounding the soldier and his cooking pot. As the soldier sniffed the stone soup and licked his lips, the villagers began to overcome their lack of trust. "Ah," the soldier said aloud to himself, "I do like tasty stone soup. Of course, stone soup with cabbage is even better." Soon a villager ran from his house into the village square, holding a cabbage. "I have this cabbage from my garden," he said as he held it out for the soldier. "Fantastic!" cried the soldier. The soldier cut up the cabbage and added it to the pot. "You know, I once had stone soup with cabbage and a bit of beef, and it was delicious." The butcher said he thought he could find some beef scraps. As he ran back to his shop, other villagers offered bits of vegetables from their own gardens: potatoes, onions, carrots, celery. Soon the big black pot was bubbling and steaming. When the soup was ready, everyone in the village ate a bowl of soup, and it was delicious. The villagers offered the soldier money and other treasures for the magic stone, but he refused to sell it. He had many offers for a cot to sleep on that night. The next day, he traveled on his way. What is the moral of this story? By working together, with everyone contributing what they can, a greater good is achieved. Everyone had a much healthier dinner because they all contributed the little food they had. It's called synergy. When you combine your efforts, they produce a total effect that is greater than the sum of the individual efforts and contributions. So by combining their food, they enjoyed a much richer and healthier meal together. There's a deeper meaning to synergy. In the Celestine prophecy, it is the 8th insight. The 8th insight is giving energy, increases the synchronistic experiences. It says that we must adopt an additional ethic toward others, one which enhances our attitude of giving as we communicate with them. We must actively uplift others by visualizing an expression of a higher connected consciousness in their eyes and on their face. Continue to visualize them moving above their ego into an authentic, united state. So as you visualize the person in front of you as their true, divine, loving self, and they do the same for you, the combined interchange of energy rises beyond the individual sum of the two people and lifts you both to much higher levels of consciousness. Now, I know The Celestine Prophecy by James Redfield is a fiction novel. Okay. However, have you heard the adage, maybe it happened, maybe it didn't, but it's still true? That is how I read these prophecies in his teachings, because they are very high teachings, and to me they are worthy of following. So that is exactly what the soldier in our story did. He saw all the villagers not as misers holding their little bits of food, but people who would be willing to share, and share they did. Was the stone magic? Well, to me the stone represents truth, potential, healing, love, and joy. Notice he did not leave the stone, but he left with the villagers all the magic the stone represents, and it changed the village. Not only that, he continued on to help other villages. So I would like to leave you with an opportunity. Be the soldier and get yourself a plain stone and imbue it with all the qualities that the soldier's stone represents, and as many of your own qualities that you would like to share with others. Keep it with you, in your pocket or in your purse. And every time you are with anyone, let the stone remind you to look at those in front of you in that higher consciousness. And then be amazed at what happens. This is one important way you can help community grow and prosper. Be the catalyst supporting cooperation and higher consciousness. So practice with your family, then your friends, then in social settings, then in religious settings and spiritual settings. And then take this practice out into other communities, reaching as many as you can. You will become a community builder and increase that sense of belonging that we so need to feel again in our lives and in our world. You know, maybe we have to wear masks for a while, but the heart cannot be masked. The actions and thoughts of a loving person cannot be masked. The good that goes beyond the good given and received cannot be masked. Maybe we have to keep distance between most of the people in our lives. But the distance does not prevent the love freely given from the heart that is not limited by space, nor the service that we can give to those who need it, nor the comforting words that can be communicated no matter the distance. It may look hopeless right now in our world, but we really are only seeing the sensationalism of media right now. We are not seeing the many, many people who are the soldiers, who are keeping their communities together and promoting their services to help other communities and even other parts of the world. And never underestimate the power of your intentions. In Greg Braden's book, The Isaiah Effect, he writes about the effects of prayer and prophecy experiments conducted in different areas of the world. And I quote him. He says, "For centuries, prophets and sages have suggested that 0.1% of humanity, working together in a unified effort, may shift the consciousness of the entire world. If those numbers are accurate, then a surprisingly few individuals may plant the seed of great possibilities. Although these statistics may represent an optimum number to bring about change, the studies in Jerusalem and the other large population centers," these are written about in his book, "suggest that the numbers to initiate such changes may be even smaller. The studies indicate that the first effects of the mass meditation and prayer became noticeable when the number of people participating in the prayers were greater than the square root of 1% of the population. In a city of 1 million people, for example, this value represents only 100 individuals. Applying the localized finding of the test cities to a larger population on a global scale offers powerful and perhaps unexpected results. Representing only a fraction of even the ancient estimates, the square root of 1% of Earth's population is just under 8,000 people. Can we reach 8,000 people? You bet. Facebook, all of those avenues that we have to keep in contact. So yes, we can do this. Even if we can't come together, we can do it. So you can see the power of a community working together with a unified intention and effort is very, very important to our survival. UUUC is a strong, loving community. Thanks to all the stone soldiers who do so much to keep this community alive and well. And it is this strength and love that we need to offer outside of our immediate community so that we may be a vital and important part in the transition from fear and disharmony to love and peace in our world. So I thank each and every one of you for all that you do from your heart. And I hope you will find a plain magic stone to carry with you and remind you that of this intention to grow community and love wherever you go, and to remind you of how much power you truly have and truly are. So I'd like to take some time now to go into meditation. So wherever you are, get very comfortable. Breathe deeply while envisioning a wave of peace flowing from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. Ah, that feels good. Now breathe normally, as if you are breathing in and out from your heart. This sends a message to your body and your heart that you are at peace and that they are safe. In this very relaxed space, think of something or someone that brings a feeling of love, joy, appreciation, or gratitude to you. In this delightful state, you are in heart-brain coherence. This is the space you always want to be in, for it is here you access your deepest wisdom. As you are resting in this peaceful state, think about the communities in your life, your family, your friends, your social groups, your religious and spiritual centers, the charities to which you contribute, the world situations and organizations that you support. How can each of us make these communities stronger and healthier and show them that we really do care? I believe we can do that through the fairness principles. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Stand for integrity, honesty, trust, and mutual benefit. Encourage teamwork in solving problems in all of your communities. Choose win-win solutions that are both good for you and your communities. Agree to disagree with respect. Support businesses and organizations anywhere in the world that promote fairness to the consumer over profits. Support laws and policies that provide equal opportunity for all citizens of every persuasion. Engage in activities in all areas of your life that promote, manifest, and encourage fairness. Teach our children to choose words and actions that benefit both themselves and all those around them. Vow today that even if life sometimes seems unfair, you don't have to be. I invite you to go into the silence and the wisdom of your heart for a few moments and think about how you can personally promote and encourage fairness in your communities. And as you begin to bring your attention back into your space, remember, you are a magnificent, powerful being, and every thought, word, and act influences everything and everyone in this world. Let us use this power to express to all the world that we choose love, peace, cooperation, and fairness. I thank you for being your powerful self, and I envision wholeness for each of you. I love and miss you and really look forward to us meeting again in person. Thank you.
Our closing words this morning are by Lynn McTaggart from The Bond. We stand at the crucial point in our evolution where we must make a choice. We are one of the most important generations in the history of humanity. With all the calamities in our midst, our choices will affect our children and our children's children, and indeed the world for all time. We can continue our process of obsessively looking for smaller and smaller pieces of our universe, ring-fencing people and things according to more tightly defined differences. We can continue to operate against nature and connect less and less with what we regard as other than ourselves. Or we can embrace the opposite impulse, our natural drive to seek wholeness and connection. As I extinguish our chalice this morning, our words are by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. Never has it been more true than now. We extinguish this flame, but the sparks within us remain alight. From each of us in our supposed solitude, the signals buzz and hum, sparkling through space one to another, connecting us invisibly, but palpably. We are one, and from every window our light shines.